Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the second leg of our presentation, which will be focused on the main clauses or the main ingredients that one should consider when drafting an Islamic will. There are very specific areas which I would like to advise you. Again, this is an awareness program. Should you take decision, this is not adequate, you must consider the experts. So I won't carry any liability if you misinterpret things. What we're going to cover in this part here, part one, is identification, revocation, and burial. Number two, we're going to talk about the appointment of the administrator. Number three, you must pay your debt. Number four is your bequest. And the second session, which we are going to deliver later, we're going to talk on other issues as well. So the very first thing you have to consider when you draft a will, Islamic will, or even any will, is you have to identify yourself. You must have a provision who you are. In today's time, specifically, where the wills can go online under certain circumstances, and people are playing around with wills, with those techniques that various people got. So we got to make sure that you are protecting your identity. Maybe you put your passport number, your address, this type of things. Identify who you are. Very important. Number two, you have to, after you have identified yourself, next thing you have to do is about your burial. Why this is important? In some countries, you do not have a specific graveyard for Muslims, and that causes problem. From a fiqh point of view, this is important. In England, we are lucky. In countries like South Africa, India, no problem. In some countries, we do not have those facilities. So if you can create some provision there about your burial, that is good. And also, very important, is about your body. What to do with your body. Why this is important is regarding your burial itself. First, you got to keep in mind our kafan dafan, that is our shrouds, must not be expensive. For example, many times people want to send the body abroad. It's not haram to do that, but you're going to get the body, you're going to put balm in it, you're going to expend money to export the body, to send the body. Is it something that you want to do? Whereas the hadith of Rasulullah Sallam says there are three things that should not be delayed. One of it is when a Muslim dies, you must bury him as soon as possible. Number one. Number two, regarding your body. As you know, in many countries, including UK, there is a debate about organ donation. There are different views on that. You can go on NHS website, you see it, and then you decide, you consult your alim what you want, and at times you can opt out, or you can put it in your will, what you want to do. People have to recognize this. I attended a burial once in another country where the lady was a revert. But once she passed away, there was no will, and the parents did not want to release the body. And they wanted the body to be buried in a non-Muslim graveyard. So of course there was legal issues, which alhamdulillah we managed to resolve. So this is why it's important to have a will, because by the end of the day, it's your body. You decide where you want to be buried. Same thing, you decide what you want to do with your organ. Another important point is post-mortem. In England, alhamdulillah, we get this facility. We can have a scanning of the body. But not all countries have this. At times, the law will insist you do post-mortem, your body will be cut. And there are ahadith on that. Your body will be raised the way you have been buried. So it is something to consider. You can put it in your will, you try your luck, but the law of the land will be observed as well. There are provisions in law as well. Importantly is cremation, especially with the COVID-19. In many countries, bodies have been burnt, cremated, and that is increasing in amount in UK as well. I don't want to go into those details. There is enough statistics to prove that. From a Sharia point of view, the body must not be cremated. Body must not be cremated. So these are directives you leave in your will regarding your body. These are not ordinary things. You are going to your Rabb. We are going to Allah. We want to go in a dignified manner, good shroud, good qabr. As far as possible, in a good way, we should have our janaza done. And if you want to say who you want to perform your salatul janaza, many ulama have put that in their will as well. Next thing, once you have clarified your revocation, in other words, you have identified yourself, you have revoked all your previous things. That also is important. You must put the revocation clause because there can be clash. I have dealt with this in the past where there are different, same person have different wills, different time. So you got to revoke that. Then about your body, your burial, etc. The next one, very important, is appointment of your administrator. Because if you do not appoint someone, then the court will have to appoint one, the probate officer. So you got to appoint. I always advise people to appoint two. The reason is, it is possible that the first administrator passes away or he refused to do it. So you have a backup. As far as possible, get somebody who knows about your personal thing, like your spouse, for example. Very important. Who knows your whereabouts, what you have, what you don't have. The reason for that is the administrator's job is to collate all your assets and debt. So nothing is missed out. The rights of people are being fulfilled properly. So this is very important to have this clause because the administrator plays a very important role in that. The next one you have is your debt. Remember that debt does not die in Islam. I've found many Muslims, they have a company, they declare it insolvent, they become bankrupt, and through the law, they think that the debt has passed away, has died. No, Islamically, you still have to pay the creditors. This is a wrong way of thinking. Maybe according to the law of the land, you are free from the debt. But from Sharia, you are the directors, you are responsible for the debt of the company. You have to pay that. So make sure that debt are being paid, because if we don't pay the debt intentionally, it comes in hadith also, we must not delay paying the debt. In the qabr, in the grave, it comes in hadith, that debt will circumambulate, will rotate around our head till the day of judgment. Do you want this type of position in the grave? Na'udhu billah min dhalik. I don't think we deserve this. Take our precaution. Give a list of who you owe with your will, put an addendum to it, and tell your children and your wives or spouse who you owe. Very important. Another important thing to consider is many people underestimate the inheritance tax. If you die and your estate, there are the nil rate ban, which is 325,000, and of course for the house now, residential house is another 175,000. So above that, of course, there are a lot of technicalities involved for the spouse, for the couples, and so on. It falls under estate tax planning. You will have to pay whatever is above that 40%. And if you have to pay, your heirs will have to pay that. Remember, there will be liquidity problem. So you got to arrange for that. Okay. Another thing is outstanding income tax, especially if you're in business. If there is outstanding income tax, you have to make provision for that, because this also is a debt. You have to pay from your estate. And you don't want, after your death, your heirs are cursing you. This is the last thing we want to hear. So we know our financial situation better than anybody else. So take precaution regarding our debt. If not, you're going to cause a lot of problem to the heirs. Yeah, keep this in mind. Another important one is, after you finish with that, is a bequest. That's what I said, up to 1/3, you can make provision who you want to help, your sadaqatul jariyah, your continuous good deed. You can have also set up charities or help somebody. Very important, these things. And another important thing is, at times under English law, if there is a dependent on you who is not your legal heirs, you have to provide for that. There is case laws in the High Court on that, where the court has said you have to, because he was dependent or she was dependent on you. So you have to cater for that in the bequest. Because Islamically, that person might not be your legal heirs, but the law of the land will request that you have to look after that person. So this will fall under the bequest. Okay. So any shortcomings in our ibadat can be compensated through the bequest that we have, but this is limited up to 1/3 of our estate. So this is quickly for this specific part. There will be two parts to that. This one we have discussed, quick revision. You must have, and you got to have identification clause, a revocation clause, what to do with your body, with your shroud, your burial, and your organ, your cremation issues, all the things you got to look into. Then you appoint two administrators, one of course if in case the first one refuses. Then after that you look after the debt, including the tax implication for those who are rich people, and also after that then you make your bequest. After that you make your bequest. So I hope it is quite clear. These few hints, I'm going to give you some further hints in the next session. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.